When he ordered a special cocktail, she did the most unexpected thing at the table. Eric slumped onto the bar stool. His muscular frame still encased in battle-worn, powered armor. The exposed skin of his arms showed fresh bruises and cuts from his latest failed mission. Running a hand through his light brown hair, he stroked his well-groomed beard. Absently, while scanning the underground alien bar's holographic menu, he muttered, tapping the most expensive item, listed something called Divine Blue Dao. After the cluster, that was his last assignment. He deserved to treat the bartender, a six-arm proxim with translucent skin, chittered in amusement. Brave choice, human or foolish? Eric Steele. Gray eyes narrowed. Just pour the damn drink. Oh, but that's not how this particular beverage works. A melodious voice purred from behind him. He turned to find himself face to face with the most striking alien woman he'd ever seen. Her skin was a pale, ethereal blue, complemented by flowing silvery blue hair that cascaded past her shoulders. Light blue eyes regarded him with obvious amusement as dark red lips curved into a playful smile. Her attire, a black corset with metallic accents, short flowing skirt, and high boots, seemed designed to draw attention while maintaining an air of mystery. She moved with fluid grace, setting an empty glass filled with ice on the counter before him. What do you mean that's not how it works? Eric asked, his irritation from the failed mission still simmering beneath the surface. Without warning, the alien woman hopped onto the bar counter with feline agility. She crouched slightly above the glass, her skirt flowing around her thighs. What the actual? Eric's words died in his throat as glowing blue liquid began dripping from beneath her skirt, filling the glass with the ethereal luminescence. Holy, he jerked back, nearly toppling off his stool. Did you just? Her laugh was like crystal chimes in a soft breeze. My species has certain unique biological qualities combined with our specialized diet. We produce one of the rarest and most valuable beverages in the galaxy. Eric stared at the glowing blue liquid, his mind reeling. You're telling me this cost 300 credits? Because it's your. If you don't enjoy it, you'll get a full refund, she said with a wink, gracefully sliding off the counter to sit beside him. I'm Pina, by the way. Eric grabbed the glass, and his pride stung by her obvious amusement down the hatch, tipping back the drink in one swift motion. The taste hit him like a supernova, sweet, tangy, with hints of exotic spices he couldn't name. Electric tingles spread through his body, leaving him feeling more alive than he had in years. Holy, he breathed. That's incredible. Pina's smile widened. Most humans have that reaction, though few are bold enough to down it in one go. I'm not most humans, he signaled the bartender. Another careful, Pina cautioned, though her eyes sparkled with interest. It can be quite potent for your species. I can handle it. He turned to face her fully. So, do you make a habit of serving drinks to strangers in this particular fashion? Only the interesting ones, she replied, leaning closer. And you? Eric seem very interesting indeed. He raised an eyebrow. You know my name. Everyone knows the human mercenary who single-handedly defended the Riel colony last month. Her fingers traced patterns on the counter. Though tonight you seem troubled. Eric snorted. Latest mission went sideways. Lost some good people. Want to talk about it? He studied her for a moment. Not particularly, but I wouldn't mind some company while I try to forget it. The next few hours passed in a blur of conversation, laughter, and more. Divine Blue Dao, Pina, proved to be not just beautiful but wickedly intelligent and surprisingly well-versed in human culture. By the time the bar began to empty, Eric found himself genuinely enjoying her company, his earlier dark mood forgotten. Same time tomorrow? Pina asked as he prepared to leave. Eric grinned. Wouldn't miss it. Neither of them could have known that their next meeting would be interrupted by violence that would change both their lives forever. The next evening, Eric returned to the bar earlier than usual, his battle suit freshly polished and his beard neatly trimmed. He told himself it was just for another taste of that remarkable blue drink, but his quickening pulse at the sight of Pina suggested otherwise. She greeted him with that mesmerizing smile, her silvery blue hair catching the low light of the bar. I was hopping you'd return, she said, sliding onto the stool beside him. Tonight her corset seemed to shimmer with an inner light matching the ethereal glow of her skin. The drink was memorable, Eric replied, his eyes lingering on her face, though I suspect the company had something to do with that. P's laugh sent pleasant shivers Down his spine, careful human flattery might get you everywhere before he could. Respond the bar's entrance slammed open 3 burly figures, stormed in 2 scions. With their distinctive ridge-plated skin, and a massive Vorian who's cernetic. Implants glinted menacingly, there she is the Vorian GR. His mechanical eye focusing on Pena, the blue maiden Eric noticed how Pena stiffened beside him, her playful demeanor, vanishing instantly. Friends of yours, he asked quietly, his hand already moving to the laser pistol at his hip. Hunters, she whispered, they've been tracking my kind for years, our abilities. When make us valuable commodities in certain markets the implications. Made Eric's blood boil. He'd seen enough slavery and exploitation in his years, as a mercenary, to recognize the predatory intent in the hunter's eyes. Stay behind me, he murmured, rising slowly from his stool. I can't handle myself, Pena protested, though he noticed she didn't move away from him. The Voran approached his heavy footsteps, making the glasses on nearby tables rattle. Step aside, human, our business is with the female. Funny thing about that, Eric droned, his stance deceptively casual. She doesn't seem interested in your business proposal. This doesn't concern you, one of the scions hissed. The bounty is only for her. There's a bounty. Eric raised an eyebrow. Must be substantial if you're willing to risk an incident in a neutral port. The Virian cybernetic eye word as it adjusted focus. Last warning. Human move. Instead of responding, Eric exploded into action. His laser pistol cleared its holster in a blur, the shot catching the first Kron square in the chest. The alien went down with a screech. His ridge plates of smoking the bar erupted into chaos. Patrons scattered as the Baron charged forward, his cybernetic arm transforming into a vicious-looking blade. Eric ducked under the swing, using his powered armor's enhanced strength to flip a table into the second scion's path. What happened next left even Eric momentarily stunned. Pa moved like liquid mercury, her body flowing around the Vorian attacks with impossible grace. She produced a small device from somewhere in her corset and pressed it against the cyborg's neck. Blue energy crackled, and the massive alien dropped like a stone. The remaining Kron, seeing his companions down, turned to flee. He made it 3 steps before Eric's second shot dropped him. Well, Eric said, holstering his weapon. That was interesting. Pena's eyes were bright with adrenaline, a flush darkening her blue skin, a deeper shade that Eric found inexplicably attractive. You didn't have to intervene, she said, but her tone was warm with gratitude. Maybe not, but I wanted to. He stepped closer, drawn by something he couldn't quite name. Want to tell me what that was really about? She hesitated, then nodded. Not here. My quarters are safer. The walk to her living space was tense with unspoken words and growing awareness. Her quarters turned out to be a surprisingly cozy sight, several levels above the bar, with a stunning view of the space stations. Massive docking rings. My species, Pena, began pouring them, both a measure of actual alcohol. This time is extremely rare. The liquid we produce isn't just valuable, it has certain properties. Healing capabilities, enhancement, effects. Some say it can even prolong life, hence the hunters. Eric concluded accepting the drink, and among others she settled beside him on a plush couch, close enough that he could feel the warmth radiating from her skin. Most of my people live in hiding. I'm one of the few who chose to live openly, though carefully, until tonight. Her fingers brushed his arm, sending electricity through his nervous system. Until tonight, she agreed softly. You're not what I expected, Eric. Oh, he turned to face her, their faces now inches apart. And what did you expect? Just another human looking for an exotic thrill. Her eyes searched his face. But you're different. You fight like a warrior, but act with honor. You're strong, but gentle, dangerous. Her hand slid up his arm, but safe. The tension between them had become almost unbearable. Eric could feel his heart hammering against his ribs. Pena, she closed the distance between them, her lips finding his. The kiss was electric, unlike anything Eric had ever experienced. Her taste was similar to the divine blue dawa, but 1,000 times more intoxicating. When they finally parted, both breathing heavily, Pena's eyes were glowing with an inner light. Stay, she whispered. Eric answered by pulling her close again, losing himself in the otherworldly sensation of her touch. As clothing began to fall away, he discovered that her entire body had that faint luminescent quality, making her seem like it being made of Starlight the night that followed was a blur of passion and discovery. Why too? Beings from different worlds, finding common ground in the language of desire. Eric learned that Pina species experience pleasure differently than humans. Their entire body is capable of producing various pleasurable secretions. She in turn was fascinated by human physiology and endurance as they lay. Together afterward, Pina traced patterns on his chest. The hunters will return, she said softly. They always do. Eric tightened his arm around her. Let them. Not good. The station's artificial dawn found Eric and Pina hastily packing essentials in her quarters. The nights passion had given way to urgent preparation as Eric's security contacts reported multiple hunter ships docking. At the station, they're not subtle, I'll give them, that Eric muttered, checking the charge on his backup laser pistols. His battle suit hummed with fresh power, sells the exposed arm showing fresh scratches from their earlier encounter. Pina emerged from her bedroom wearing a form-fitting stealth suit that seemed to shift colors with her movement's subtlety. Isn't their strong suit, she said, securing a small bag of specialized nutrient packets to her belt, but there. Persistent Eric paused in his preparations, momentarily captivated by how the suit accentuated her ethereal beauty. Even in this tense moment, the memory of their night together sent electricity through his nervous system. Her pale blue skin seemed to pulse with an inner light that made his breath catch. See something you like, human, she teased, though her eyes held the same heat. He felt everything, he admitted, pulling her close for a quick, fierce kiss. But we need to move my ships in Bay 47. The stellar storm. Pina's eyes widen. The ship that outran the Senton blockade, you've heard of its stories, though they didn't mention how handsome the captain was. Explosion rocked the station. Before Eric could respond, the emergency lights flash red as the station's AI announced a security incident in their sector. Looks like subtlety is officially dead, Eric growled, drawing his weapon ready. Pina produced two slim daggers that gleamed with an odd blue sheen. Born ready, they moved through the station corridors like ghosts. Eric's combat experience complementing Pina's natural stealth abilities perfectly. Twice they had to detour around hunter search parties, and once they were forced to fight when a trio of Drachnid mercenaries ambushed them near a maintenance shaft. The fight was brief but intense. Eric's powered armor gave him the strength to throw one Drachnid clean over a railing, while Pina's daggers found weak spots in another's armor with deadly precision. The third fell to a combination of their efforts. Eric's laser fire driving it into Pina's waiting blade. We make quite a team, Pina panted, retrieving her dagger. Her eyes were bright with combat excitement, and Eric couldn't help but pull her into a passionate kiss. Later, she promised, breathlessly pushing him away with obvious reluctance. Bay 47. Remember, they encountered heavier resistance as they approached the docking bay. The hunters had clearly anticipated their destination and set up checkpoints accordingly, but they hadn't counted on Eric's intimate knowledge of the station's layout or Pina's ability to produce a specialized variant of her secretion that, when aerosolized, created a thick obscuring mist. That's new, Eric commented as they slipped past a confused group of hunters. I'm full of surprises, Pina winged, though I'll need to replenish soon. The process takes a lot out of me. Finally, they reached Bay 47. The stellar storm waited like a predatory bird, its sleek lines betraying its impressive speed and firepower. Eric had won it in a high-stakes game of chance, though the previous owner might disagree about the chance part. Beautiful Pina breathed, running her hand along the hull like her owner. Eric grinned, earning a playful swat. The moment was shattered by weapons fire. A full squad of hunters had found them, led by a familiar face, the Vorian from the bar, his cybernetics now showing obvious repair work. The Blue Maiden is property of the consortium, he roared. Surrender her, human, and you might live. Eric's response was a precise shot that took out the Vordarian's mechanical eye. Sorry. She's spoken. For what followed was a cha-idic firefight as they fought their way to the ship's entry ram. Eric's armor took several hits, and Pina's agility was tested to its limits, but they made it inside, sealing the airlock just as reinforcements arrived. Strap in. Eric called, racing for the cockpit. His fingers flew over the controls, bringing the Sci-fi systems online. This might get rough. I like rough, P purred from the co-pilot's seat, already familiarizing herself with the weapon systems. The docking clamps released with a thunderous clamp in the stellar storm. Roared to life, multiple hunter ships were moving to block their exit, but they'd never faced a pilot like Eric in. A ship like this the next few minutes were a blur of high-speed maneuvers, weapons, fire, and penis, surprisingly. Accurate targeting, they took some hits, but Eric's ship lived up to its reputation, weaving through the stations. Superstructure in ways that seemed to defy physics when they finally broke free into open space. Pina let out a whoop of pure joy that was incredible. You're incredible. Eric engaged the autopilot and turned to her, his blood still singing from the escape. We make a good team. She slid onto his lap, her body fitting against his perfectly. We make an excellent team, she corrected, before claiming his mouth in a searing kiss. Later, as they lay tangled together in the captain's quarters, Pina traced the new scorch marks on his armor. They'll keep coming, you know, and the consortium never gives up on valuable assets. Let them come, Eric said, pulling her closer. I've got something worth fighting for now. She propped herself up on an elbow, her silvery blue hair falling like a curtain around them. You're either the bravest or the most foolish human I've ever met. Why not both? He grinned, and then grew serious. We'll need supplies, contacts. I know some places off the grid where we can lay low while we figure out our next move. I know some people, Two Pies said, and I have skills beyond what you've seen. I look forward to finding out what they are. His hands traced patterns on her luminescent skin, making her shiver. Careful, human, she breathed, or we'll never make it to those contacts of yours. Would that be so terrible? Her answer was lost in another passionate kiss as the stellar storm carried them deeper into the vast unknown of space, leaving their pursuers far behind. The desert moon of Proxima 3 wasn't anyone's idea of paradise, but it was exactly the kind of place where secrets could be bought if you knew the right people and were willing to pay the price. Eric guided the stellar storm down through the rust-colored atmosphere, the ship's hull creaking against the intense wind. Your contact lives here? Pina asked, her nose wrinkling at the desolate landscape below. She changed into a flowing desert robe that somehow made her ethereal beauty even more striking. Lives is a strong word, Eric replied, his experienced hands keeping the ship steady. Rex Blackwood exists wherever the next big score is, but he knows everything worth knowing about criminal or organizations like the consortium. The landing pad was a little more than a flat stretch of rock, outside a collection of interconnected biodomes. As they descended the ship's ramp, the harsh desert wind whipped sand against Eric's battle suit. P moved closer to him, her body's natural warmth a pleasant contrast to the bitter cold of the desert night. You trust this Rex? She asked, her hand finding his trust is also a strong word. He squeezed her fingers reassuringly, but he's predictable. Money talks, and he's never betrayed a paying customer. The largest biodome housed what passed for a bar in this wasteland. Unlike Pina's former establishment, this place RRE of desperation and cheap synthetic alcohol, the patrons a mix of smugglers, outlaws, and beings that defy classification. Barely looked up as they entered. Rex Blackwood sat in his usual corner, a mountain of a man with cybernetic arms and a face that looked like it had been carved from granite. His eyes widened slightly at the sight of Pina, then narrowed knowingly. Eric, he rumbled, gesturing to the empty seats at his table. And a blue maiden? You always did have expensive taste. Watch it, Rex, Eric warned, though his tone remained casual. His hand never strayed far from his laser pistol. No offense intended. Rex raised his mechanical hands placatingly, just appreciating the irony. You've got half the galaxy's bounty hunters looking for you, and here you're walking into my bar. We needed information about the consortium, Pina said, getting straight to the point. Her presence seemed to elevate the dingy establishment, drawing covert glances from the other patrons. Rex's cybernetic eyes whirred as they focus on her. Information about the consortium doesn't come cheap, and what I know about their Blue Maiden operation, that's premium content. Name your price, Eric said. Not credits this time. Rex leaned forward. I need something specific. Something only a Blue Maiden can provide. Eric tensed, but Pina placed a calming hand on his arm. Go on, she said. There's a vault in the consortium's regional headquarters, Rex explained, biometrically locked. But the lock doesn't just read fingerprints or retinas. It analyzes the chemical composition of the key holder's bodily fluids, specifically its calibrated to detect the unique properties of blue maiden secretions. You want me to help you rob the consortium? Pina asked, her voice neutral. I want what's in that vault. You want the consortium off your back. We help each. Other Rex spread his mechanical hands. The vault contains evidence of the consortium's illegal activities, including their blue maiden hunting operation. Release that information to the right authorities and they'll have bigger problems than chasing you two across the galaxy, Eric. And Pina exchanged a look, a whole conversation passed between them, without words born from their growing intimacy and trust. We'll need detail, Eric said. Finally, security, layouts, guard rotations, everything done. Rex grinned, but first a show of good faith. Your lovely companion provides me with a sample of her unique beverage just to verify she's the real deal. Eric started to object, but Pina was already standing with fluid grace. She moved to the bar and retrieved a clean glass. The entire establishment fell silent as she performed her signature move, the glowing blue liquid filling the glass with otherworldly light. Rex's cybernetic eye analyzed the liquid eagerly as she placed it before him. Fascinating, he murmured the stories don't do it justice. He produced a small scanner from his coat, running it over the glass. After a moment, he nodded. Satisfaction, the real deal indeed. Meet me at these coordinates in 6 hours. I'll have everything you need outside the bar. Eric pulled Pina close. We don't have to do this. We could find another way. She pressed against him, her body fitting perfectly against his. Despite the battle, we need this information. Besides, her eyes sparkled mischievously. I've always wanted to rob the people who been hunting me. They returned to the stellar storm to wait out the 6 hours in the privacy of their quarters. Their discussion of strategy gave way to more intimate pursuits. Pina's unique biology continued to amaze and delight Eric, while she remained fascinated by human stamina and passion of your species. She murmured afterward, tracing the scars on his chest. You're so anchored, incredibly adaptable, so willing to embrace the unknown. Is that your scientific analysis? He teased, running his fingers through her silvery blue hair. I might need to conduct more research to be sure. Her eyes held that familiar heat that made his pulse race. A chime from the ship's computer interrupted them. Time to meet Rex. As they dressed, Eric caught Pina watching him with an unreadable expression. Having second thoughts? No, she said, soft. Just thinking about how my life changed the moment you walked into my bar and ordered that drink. He pulled her close, inhaling her intoxicating scent. Best decision I ever made, even with all this danger, especially with all this danger. Oh, he kissed her deeply. Now, let's go rob the consortium. The consortium's regional headquarters on New Santhus rose like a twisted spire of black glass and steel into the perpetually smog-filled sky. Eric and Pina observed it from their rented room in an adjacent tower, their bodies close as they studied Rex's detailed schematics. The security systems are impressive. Eric muttered, his fingers absent stroking Pina's arm. She'd chosen to wear a form-fitting corporate outfit that made her look like any other alien executive, though her natural luminescence was harder to disguise, but not impenetrable. She replied, leaning into his touch. The vault biometric lock is actually their weakness. They're so confident in its blue maiden-specific calibration that they've neglected other security measures. Eric's battle suit was concealed beneath a business formal overcoat, his weapons carefully hidden, but accessible. You're sure you can handle the amount of extraction needed for the lock? Pina turned to face him, her dark red lips curving into that smile that never failed to quicken his pulse. Worried about me, human? Always. He pulled her close, inhaling her intoxicating scent. But I also know you're the most capable person I've ever met. Their lips met in a passionate kiss that threatened to derail their mission, planning entirely. When they finally separated, both breathing heavily, Pina's skin was glowing noticeably brighter. We should focus, she whispered, though her hands remained on his chest. Right. Eric cleared his throat. The plan. They moved at dawn, entering the building with the morning of workers. Rex's Forg credentials held up under scrutiny, identifying them as auditors from a subsidiary company. The guard's eyes lingered a moment too long on Pum, but her icy stare sent him looking elsewhere. The vault level was accessed through a private elevator that required executive clearance. Eric handled that with a device that spoofed the necessary credentials, while Pina created a distraction by accidentally spilling her Coffee on a security officer, sorry, she purred, dabbing at his uniform with calculated inefficiency. How clumsy of me, the guard was so flustered by her attention that he barely noticed Eric cloning his security badge. The vault itself was housed in a circular chamber that hummed with energy fields. The biometric lock dominated the center, a sleek pillar with a single crystal receptacle. Well, Pina said, approaching the lock, this is certainly more elegant than a table in a bar. Eric secured the door while she worked his enhanced battle suit sensors, scanning for approaching threats. I prefer the bar version personally. Flatterer, she positioned herself over the receptacle, her corporate skirt arranged precisely. This will take a few minutes. The lock needs a significant sample. Eric tried not to watch too obviously, as the familiar blue glow began to emanate from beneath her skirt, even in this clinical setting. The sight stirred memories of their more intimate moments. The lock's crystal began to pulse with matching blue light as it filled suddenly, the entire chamber illuminated with holographic displays revealing hundreds of data streams and classified documents. That's a lot more than evidence of illegal hunting, Eric said. Scanning the information, these are military secrets, weapons, designs, political blackmail. Eric Pina's voice was tight. Look at this one display showed detailed genetic sequences and biological data. They're not just a hunting my people. She said, they're trying to synthesize our abilities, create artificial blue maidens they can control. Can they succeed? Number, but their failed attempts. She shuddered. We need to destroy this research, all of it. Eric was already downloading everything to a secure drive. First, we make copies. This is bigger than just the hunting operation. With this evidence, we could bring down the entire consortium. Pina finished with the lock smoothing her skirt as she stood. We need to hurry. Security will notice the data access soon. As if on cue, alarms began blaring throughout the building. Eric drew his concealed weapons as heavy footsteps approached the vault. Time for the backup plan, Pina asked, producing her own hidden weapons. Time for the backup plan. Eric grinned, shrugging off his overcoat to reveal his battle suit. Try to keep up. Beautiful. What followed was a chaotic fighting retreat through the building. Eric's enhanced strength and combat experience complemented Pina's agility and unique ability IDs perfectly. She used her secretions to create slick surfaces that sent security forces sprawling while he provided covering fire. They were nearly to their planned escape route when the Vorian appeared, again now sporting upgraded cybernetics and leading a squad of elite hunters. Blue Maiden and her human pet. He snarled, surrender now, and we might let him live. Pina's response was to spit a concentrated burst of her liquid directly into his mechanical eye, causing it to short-circuit spectacularly. Eric used the distraction to throw a breaching charge that blew open the nearest window. Ready for a leap of faith, he asked, extending his hand. Pina took it without hesitation. With you always. They jumped just as the hunters opened fire, plummeting 50 stories before Eric's grappling line caught a lower ledge. The momentum swung them through another window and into their prearranged escape route. Minutes later, they were racing through the city in a stolen vehicle, the stolen data secure, and their pursuers left far behind. That was Pina was practically glowing with excitement, her hair wilded from the wind, exhilarating. Eric pulled her close, steering one-handed. You're incredible. You know that we're incredible, she corrected, kissing him deeply. They barely made it back to their hidden ship before passion overtook them. The adrenaline of their escape, combined with their natural chemistry, created an explosive reunion that left them both breathless and glowing, literally in Pina's case. As they prepared to break orbit, Pina studied the stolen data. This changes everything. The consortium secrets, the failed experiments. We can't just release this and run. Eric took her hand. Then we don't run, we fight together. She squeezed his fingers. It all started with a drink order. You know, who would have thought it would lead to bringing down an interstellar criminal empire? Best drink I ever ordered. He pulled her into his lap, though I might need another sample to be sure. Her laugh was like music as they soared into space, leaving New Santhus and its secrets behind. But they both knew their journey was far from over. Deep in the uncharted regions of the Andromeda Arm, aboard the stellar storm, Eric and Pina pored over the stolen research data. 3 weeks of intensive study had revealed a surprising possibility hidden within the Consortium's failed experiments look at this. Pina said her luminescent skin, casting a soft glow. Over the holographic displays, she wore one of Eric's shirts, the oversized garment slipping off one shoulder in a way that consistently distracted him from their work. They were approaching it all wrong. Eric moved behind her, placing his hands on her shoulders, even through his battle suit sensors her unique biology registered as something extraordinary. How so? They tried to replicate our secretion process artificially, she explained, leaning back against his chest, but what they accidentally created was something else entirely, a way to mask our biological signature, completely making you untraceable to their hunters. Eric concluded, his fingers absently tracing patterns on her exposed shoulder. Exactly. She turned to face him, her eyes bright with excitement. The formula exists in their most secure research facility on Nexus Prime. If we can get it, modify it correctly. She bit her lower lip. My people would be free. Eric knew that look. It was the same one she'd given him that first night in the bar just before. Demonstrating her unique talents, it meant trouble, adventure, and inevitably pleasure. Nexus Prime is a fortress world, he said, though his hands had already settled on her hips. The security there makes New Santhus look like a tourist resort. Good thing I have the galaxy's most capable human partner. Her fingers traced the edges of his battle suit. Unless you're not up for the challenge, he answered, by pulling her into a passionate kiss that left them both breathless. I'm up for anything with you. Their planning session devolved into more intimate activities, but neither complained. Their physical connection had only grown stronger since their first meeting. Each encountered, teaching them new ways to bridge the gap between their species. Later, as they lay tangled in the ship's quarters, Pina traced the new scars on Eric's chest, souvenirs from their vault heist. I never thought I'd trust a human this much, she mused. Our people have such different ways. Different can be good if heish, he replied, running his fingers through her silvery blue hair like ordering expensive drinks from mysterious blue women. She laughed, the sound making his heart race, as it always did. Best customer I ever had. The moment was interrupted by the ship's AI announcing their approach to the Nexus system. They dressed quickly, though not without several distracting detours, and made their way to the bridge. Nexus Prime filled the view screen, a mechanical marvel of a planet, its surface covered in sprawling research complexes and defense installations. The Consortium's most valuable secrets were housed in its depths, protected by the most advanced security systems in known space. The facility we want is here. Pina pointed to a massive structure near the planetary equator, the Consortium's primary research division. The formula will be in their secure data vault, which we can't access without physical presence this time, Eric noted, studying the facility specs they learned from New Santhus. No network connections to the outside. Then we go in personally. P's eyes sparkled with mischief. I have an idea, but you'll need to trust me completely always. Her plan was audacious, borderline insane, and absolutely brilliant. Using her natural abilities and the knowledge they'd gained from the stolen data, she could pose as a captured blue maiden being brought in for research. Eric, with his military background and combat record, would play the part of a mercenary selling her to the facility. It's risky, he said, holding her close. If they realize who you are, they won't. She kissed him softly. The Consortium's arrogance is their weakness. They never expect their prizes to fight back. The preparation took 3 days, during which they barely left their quarters. Except for essential planning, their passion was tinged with an edge of desperation, both aware of the dangers ahead, but unable to resist their mutual attraction. If this works, Pina whispered during one intimate moment, my people will be free. No more hunting, no more hiding. When this works, Eric corrected, we'll find a quiet corner of the galaxy. Open that bar you always talked about, serving the finest blue dawa in the sector, only to very special customers. The morning of their infiltration, they stood in the ship's cargo hold, making final adjustments to their disguises. Pina wore simple prisoner's gar that did nothing to diminish her ethereal beauty, while Eric had modified his battle suit to look more mercenary and less military-ready. He asked, raising the ceremonial restraints they'd acquired for verisimilitude. She stepped into his personal space, her unique scent making his head swim. One last kiss for luck. The kiss was deep and promising, filled with Everything they couldn't say aloud when they finally parted both were slightly breathless. "Let's go free, my people, Pina," said, holding out her wrist for the restraints. Eric secured them gently, knowing that beneath her calm exterior, she was already preparing for what was to come. They'd faced impossible odds before, but this mission would determine not just their future, but the future of her entire species, as they prepared to dock with Nexus Prime's main port. Eric couldn't help but marvel at how his life had changed. One impulsive drink order in an alien bar had led him to the greatest adventure and the greatest love of his life. "What are you thinking about?" Pina asked, catching his expression. "Just wondering what other surprises you have in store for me." Her smile was radiant. "Oh, human, you have no idea. The consortium's research facility swallowed them like a mechanical leviathan." Eric, playing his role as a ruthless mercenary, roughly guided Pina through sterile white corridors. Her restraints, though ceremonial, clinked convincingly as they followed a stone-faced scientist deeper into the complex specimen. "Appears to be in excellent condition," the scientist noted, his clinical gaze making Eric's jaw clench. "Though rather more luminescent than usual, she's special." Eric growled, staying in character while squeezing Pina's arm reassuringly. "Price reflects that the laboratory they entered was a nightmare of chrome and surgical equipment." Other scientists paused their work to stare at Pina, their eyes holding a hunger that made Eric's trigger finger itch. "Will need to verify her capabilities," the lead scientist said. "A demonstration is required." Pina met Eric's eyes briefly before assuming a defeated posture. "Please, not again." Her performance was perfect, just the right mix of fear and resignation. The scientist practically salivated as she was led to a testing station with a familiar crystal receptacle, while attention focused on Pina's reluctant demonstration. Eric palmed a security card from a distracted technician. They'd need it for the next phase of their plan. "Extraordinary purity levels," one scientist breathed, analyzing Pina's produced liquid, "perhaps the highest we've recorded." "As I said," Eric rumbled, "special." The payment transfer was handled quickly. The consortium never haggled over Blue Maiden acquisitions. As soon as the credits hit his account, Eric was escorted out, leaving Pina behind. As planned, the hardest part was walking away, knowing what she might face if anything went wrong. He made it to the designated maintenance corridor before shedding his mercenary persona. The stolen security card got him access to a service lift that would take him to the secure data levels. Pina would meet him there after her escape. The vault itself was deep underground, protected by layers of security that would have been impossible to breach from the outside. But they weren't outside anymore. Eric waited in the shadows, counting seconds. Right on schedule. Alarms began blaring throughout the facility. "Alert, specimen containment breach in Laboratory 7. Security team, respond immediately." He smiled. That would be Pina putting on quite a show. Upstairs, the diversion would pull security away from the vault level, giving them their window of opportunity. Pina appeared minutes later, moving like a shadow in the dim emergency lighting. She changed into a stolen lab coat that somehow made her look even more alluring. "Miss me," she whispered, pressing against him briefly.